fabulous Monday here on Crypto. Oh my God, I'm going to do something I don't often do, which is talk about the price of Bitcoin. But I mean, something's happening. There's just a lot of motion in the ocean, and that is a pun because it's all Bitcoin whales. And it's just something that actually looks like it might have some merit to think about. Let's just dive right into it. Now, straight out of the gate, people are tossing around crazy numbers. Obviously, 1 million is a nice, round, insane number. But with Bitcoin crossing the $100,000 mark, I mean, we really do have the license to flip our mindset from X amount of dollars to $0.1 million, right? And it went from 100K to like 120 pretty quickly. That's a 20% gain. That's kind of nuts. So are we looking at the accrual towards, 200,000, 300,000? And does it make it really mentally easier globally if we think of it as 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 million dollars? Now, there's a lot of people tossing a lot of numbers out there, and for good reason. They all have their interests, but we're looking at ARK Investments right now by Cathie Woods, who is traditionally very bleeding edge, very sort of ahead of the curve kind of investments. And they talk about this Bitcoin price chart and they're, is $1 million possible, and really trying to froth up the FOMO to get everyone intrigued. And what's fascinating about this is people ask me today, Graham, like, what is the next Bitcoin? Where should I be putting my money? And it's like, hey man, if you want to invest, like, Bitcoin, it's never been a bad investment. I know that sounds strange. Like, you can time it incorrectly. And I know plenty of people have done that. But if you buy Bitcoin, like a friend of mine this weekend said, hey, I want to put $10,000 into something. I don't care if I lose it. And I said, well, if you buy Bitcoin, you're not going to lose it. And he says, well, what's the next Bitcoin? Man, there is no next Bitcoin. I don't know what the next Bitcoin is. There's Ethereum, which is amazing. There's Solana, which is amazing. There's a decentralized AI. There's decentralized storage. All of these are very cool. But Bitcoin is like this religious phenomenon with a Jesus-like character, founder, creator. And it's clearly going through an adoption curve that is only really possible because of its background, because of its first mover status, because of Satoshi being Satoshi, and because of the narrative of fiat actually looking a little sus. So this $1 million Bitcoin, I mean, absolutely nuts. And they kind of put out their 2030 price target with their low, medium, high, saying 300K, $710,000, 1.5 million. Now let's even say $300,000. Like, fuck yeah, if you're buying a Bitcoin today at 120, that's pretty great to only be waiting 5 years, quite frankly. And you're talking about something that you can go to sleep on. This is a major point. With a lot of the other investments with a lot more risk on, you're looking at, again, losing that money being a much higher chance. Maybe it's something that keeps you up at night. I mean, this is probably for younger investors. I'm on the older age of the spectrum. And like, I just kind of want to go to work every day, make some money and put it away, and hopefully it grows, right? I swear to God, the best performing investors I've ever met in the crypto space are the long-term buy and holds. It's just without a doubt, the trading is not the path forward. So 300K at the bottom end, I mean, all right, I'll freaking take it. 710, like, hell yeah. And 1.5 million, that's just pie in the sky kind of stuff. And they talk about what would it take, to get here. And if you want to learn a little bit more and dive in, it's all in the sources. But I mean, there is some more narrative to this. So one of the big trends I want to discuss is that we're seeing a lot more of these sleeping wallets, these old Bitcoin OGs, maybe coming from like the 2011 era, where they could either mine it themselves or buy it pretty easily. I'm unfortunately, I lost a lot of my early Bitcoin. There was just bad technology. I had a wallet that didn't work correctly, and it made me lose, like, a lot of my early super cheap coins. And it is what it is. You cry in the shower. I think everybody that's been in this space long enough has cried in the shower at some time. But we are seeing this thing happen where these Bitcoin wallets are starting to wake up and they're making these massive exits, right? After 14 years, you're just going to exit 2 billion. And I mean, wowie, wow. And this is just some fun data to look at from Arkham, which is the Bitcoin exchange to whale ratio. So you can see this is across all exchanges realistically. And we can see earlier in time when the price was low, we had these massive candles where the whales held a lot more than the exchanges. And if we do look over time, especially moving across 2022 into 2023, that whale holding begins to drop. That ratio of whales holding Bitcoin to exchanges, meaning that people are selling, right? And as they sell, the Bitcoin price is going up. Now, what is happening here? If they're selling, if whales are selling, why is the price going up? Well, this is traditional asset rotation. It's rotating from whales, from early believers into new holders. And this can theoretically give us a price reset, right? Every Bitcoin acquired from these whales was for pennies on the dollar, was, let's just call it cheap. So they're like, hell yeah, I've got to get out. It is expensive now. And their point of view riding this wave is to exit this position in good profit. Now, all buyers are starting to look at Bitcoin with a new lens. And they're like, hey, what if I got it at, I mean, what was the price in USD? $30,000 here, right? So this is in 2023. Now, if you go from 30K to 120K, you're like, hell yes, I've made a great position. I've had great returns. So again, this mental repricing is very responsible. And we've started to see, well, some whale here shows up. I'm not sure what this is in 2024, but we can continue to see this, like this condensing of Bitcoin whales, especially when you look at the left of the chart in 2022 to where we're at now with the price accrual. And this is a phenomenon. It's happening. I can't say this is like one-offs. This is not unique. This is not small time. So as of last week on Friday, Galaxy announced that they executed one of the largest notional Bitcoin transactions ever. So Galaxy Digital, Mike Novogratz's fund, and they facilitate a lot of banking features. Well, they helped somebody liquidate 80,000 Bitcoin. Word on the street, it was an old miner, someone who had a wallet or a mining service back in the day, and they accumulated 80,000 Bitcoin. Holy moly. And they sold this all for $9 billion. Now, there's a big question going about, like, who would do this? If you were that committed to Bitcoin back in the day, you're likely a libertarian. You're likely not believing in the fiat regime and that Bitcoin reigns supreme. So why would you go and just lump sell all of this stuff? It wasn't padded. It wasn't on OTC desks. It wasn't through time-weighted averages. They just sent these to various exchanges and literally sold 80,000 Bitcoin into the market. Now, to me, this is very bullish for Bitcoin to go from like $120,000 to, what was it, 114 or something. It basically absorbed a $9 billion sale. That means to me that there's a lot of demand. And again, we have this shift in mental philosophy where the new buyers are pricing it as it is now, expecting it to go up to, let's say, 1.5 million. That means they're still expecting a close to 10x return. So for them, this is a buying opportunity, right? This is a buy the dip moment. Now for OGs, I mean, this is kind of wild. You have to ask yourself, if you don't believe in fiat, like, what are you doing with it? But maybe when you have billions in fiat, the whole narrative really breaks down, right? But there's a lot of people kind of scratching their heads at this. And when you talk to Bitcoin OGs, some of my old friends, I mean, truth be told, between the $100,000 range, 120, and even a little bit lower, these were prices that people could not resist. I know a lot of old Bitcoiners who looked at this and just said, look, if I sell this Bitcoin now, I exit into retirement forever. I can buy all the dream houses I want, the power cars, the vacations. And we saw a lot of that happening. So many people I know have exited their Bitcoin. And of course, it's kind of crazy when we look at this. A Bitcoin whale just sold the 80,000 for 9.6. I forgot the 0.6. It's substantial money. And the crazy thing, they bought all of this Bitcoin in 2011 for $54,000. Man, I was buying Bitcoin in 2011, but I graduated in 2008 right into the financial crash. My first job paid me $45,000 a year. I didn't have any kind of money like this. So good on them. It was mostly old dudes back then, and they could probably afford and swing 50K. A lot of them seemed single, and I say that because I brought my now wife all the time, and they'd be eye-fucking her from across the room, and I had to go to lengths by telling guys they could not leave the building with us at the same time because I figured they would follow us to the subway and try to track us. So it was all very weird back then. And, you know, these are the whales. These are the guys that are exiting. But I'm hearing it over and over again. You've got this comes up today. Bitcoin OG Willy Woo has sold most of his Bitcoin. Here's why. Now, Willy Woo has had a great reputation throughout the space. I personally invested in one of his funds back in around 2019, and he blew it up in like 2 seconds, and I lost 60% of my investment. It was like over the course of 2 months. And it was nuts. And it was like, how is this guy well reputed when they just like eviscerated our money? And I had to pay in Bitcoin, and I got some Bitcoin back. But that's how you lose Bitcoin over time. So the real lesson in all of this was that the winningest thing you could do was just to buy and accumulate Bitcoin, and then you sell it all for $9 billion. But anyway, Willie's saying, look, there's a potential 50x return from holding Bitcoin. That's not big enough for him. Oh my gosh. I would say to anybody else out there, if you want to buy Bitcoin today, 50x upside sounds pretty good. You can go to sleep. You can live the rest of your life. It's not going to zero. We know this for a fact. It's already suffered so much horrendous news and it still exists. But he comes out and he says today, well, he's looking at it that he wants to be an active money manager. And this is something you need to keep in mind when you do read these articles. He's basically coming out saying there's opportunities, there's picks and shovels, there's Bitcoin lenders, there's like a whole cater of businesses that can be built on the back of Bitcoin. And he expects to be very active and participating in that. So he's exiting his Bitcoin. Now, what's very weird to me is that people keep writing about these things as though it's a 0 or 1, like a sort of binary thing, that they're selling all of their Bitcoin. But if you believe in Bitcoin, if you really do believe that it becomes a financial primitive, a backbone of the new modern digital world, I mean, you got to keep some of these things. I'm of the mind that a single Bitcoin will delineate a family in status in someday in the future. Maybe this is when I'm dead. Maybe this is when my child turns 50. Who knows? But to me, it's like you want to pass these things on. That's how you really succeed in thinking about Bitcoin, that this is bigger than any one of us, that time will reward Bitcoin holding, and that you just need some of those things to go on. So it's very strange when people are saying, hey, I exited everything, and maybe they're not. And of course, we look at Arkham again, coming back to Bitcoin flows, and we see the on-chain exchange flow. There's been a lot of motion off exchanges moving into on-chain held Bitcoin, and then there's been a lot of sales. And we see here on the 28th, this is probably the big sale coming from Galaxy. So that's starting to pick back up, but it's looking pretty healthy, right? Whenever people are selling, there are buyers on the other side. A lot of this is Michael Saylor. And by moving these into treasury companies that have access to further liquidity options, like selling shares, like liquidating some of the asset to buy more shares back with treasury, like loans, like other things, we are actually opening up the liquidity pool towards Bitcoin and towards crypto. So while these treasury companies are not on chain and they don't directly pump the price of our coins, they are establishing a broader liquidity buffer, I would say, for the industry at large. And this is healthier because there's now more ways for money to enter and exit the system and to support the system, most importantly. Now, a lot of this comes back to Udi Wertheimer, a long-time Bitcoin OG. This guy never shows up without sunglasses on. He's pretty funny. I like him. He's a bit of a troublemaker, but he has been going whole hog on being loud. And this is sort of the impact of Mert and Solana, of Jesse and Base, of the Hyperliquid community, just bull posting Hyperliquid. We see a lot of this coming from the meme coins. And of course, Michael Saylor, the biggest bull poster of all around Bitcoin. So he's taking up this bull posting role, and he's basically sitting on this narrative that this Bitcoin thesis will retire your bloodline. And he's basically saying, hey guys, everything else is shit. If you're going to try to outperform Bitcoin, you're fucking stupid. This is not the moment. With his core thesis being that the old sellers are all exiting and taking their history of Bitcoin price with them, and that these new buyers that are coming in, these institutions, these treasury companies, they have a full reset. So basically he's saying the floor price of Bitcoin is being reset. What was once $1,000 and now seems expensive at $100 to these old participants, the $100,000 floor is going to be the new baseline to everybody else. And he believes that there's going to be a massive repricing coming soon, that it is in price discovery. His point really hinges on the fact that these OGs left and right have largely sold between $50,000 and $100,000. He's saying, look, I've been in Bitcoin forever. Udi's been here since I've been here, so a long, long time. And he's saying, I've never seen everyone I know has sold out. All of the original Bitcoin participants have exited their run. So he kind of takes on Doge to talk about this, saying that Doge was created as a meme. The Dogecoin creator actually sold it all for like a Honda Civic or some small car. It was like for $30,000. Meanwhile, Doge is now the meme coin of all meme coins. It is its own blockchain. It is a fork of Bitcoin. So it is unique. It doesn't interact with Ethereum or Solana. And he talks about, hey, look, Dogecoin was trading and it was all these prices. Then you get this Elon tweet, haha, and Elon starts to play with it. Then there's this Dogecoin challenge on TikTok, and we see these small pumps, right? And his take is that these narrative events, these sort of publicity, these PR things, they bring Dogecoin into the zeitgeist of a whole new ownership base. That prior to this, it was Bitcoiners who just laughed at Dogecoin, saying it's a shitty meme coin, and maybe we buy it in the bottom, the bear runs, and we sell it in the bull runs, but like nobody expects much out of it. Then with Elon, then with TikTok, we get these new participants to come in who don't have any of this basis that they can act upon. And he looks at this and he goes, holy shit, when you extrapolate, look at Dogecoin, right? First mindfuck, it just shoots up. So these previous charts that look like something, they're actually nothing. They are absolute blips. Then we pull back some more. The markets get rallying. We have a meme coin explosion. And holy shit, the first mindfuck looks like nothing. The real mindfuck is an absolute shoot to the moon, right? This is absolutely insane. And he's saying the same thing is happening with Bitcoin today, that the old people are still pricing it back in this world. And now that we get on basically what is CNBC, now that we have institutions, nation states, treasury companies, we're getting this first little mindfuck, which is going to be the repricing. Basically, all old holders move out on their price expectations that they've made great profit. And we get this. But he's saying we have yet to really see the true repricing that's happening with all of this institutional buying, with these new narratives, with Michael Saylor and his sort of amazing loop and feedback mechanics. So now we have all of these ETFs. Look, once Bitcoin can go against a mortgage as collateral, I mean, why would you exit? So he says, look around you, what's next? And he goes on to basically say you're absolutely insane if you think anything besides Bitcoin is going to be the performer of this cycle. And that is vastly going to outperform. And of course, he takes a lot of comedy into this. He's very much in it for the publicity. He's had a history of just doing sort of big public stunts in order to try to get upgrades to the Bitcoin code that he prefers. But he also puts up this, this funny sort of exercise, which is, I spent $3,000 to ask the new Grok 4 Heavy, the most advanced AI model in the world, when Bitcoin is going to hit $400,000. And it comes back with November 2nd, 2025. So a lot less scientific than what ARK is putting out there. But suffice it to say, there is this general attitude going around that something is happening with Bitcoin. That something being turnover of hands, new blood coming into the system. And everybody that I know that is a Bitcoin OG is like, yeah, most people have sold out, right? Like this 6-figure Bitcoin. I mean, I remember when it went to $20,000 and I sat there thinking, I can't believe it. I mean, did it, it was decent money for me. It wasn't retirement, but it was just like, wow. I remember when Bitcoin went from a couple cents to $30, when it went from $30 to $1,000. We've had crashes the whole way. And you thought this is a pie in the sky moment, but to watch it mature, to catch on. And Udi's point, which I do think has some validity, is that we're getting rid of all of those people, all of those old cypherpunks, all of those nerds. They're cashing out. They're billionaires. You'll probably never hear from them again, right? They can use that money to influence the world in the way that they want, just directly. They no longer have to do this sort of behind the dark web kind of vibe. And now you are getting these new holders, and these holders have business interests in this, right? They want Bitcoin to go up because if Bitcoin goes up, more people invest in their product. They make their money by AUM, assets under management. So there is a real reason for the institutions to say Bitcoin is a great investment. There is a desire for this price to continue to move upwards. And that is because there has been a restructuring of mindset. And on top of that, people are starting to look at what was considered the craziness of Bitcoin, which is that maybe the fiat regime is at a struggle. And what are we seeing now? We're seeing a president directly at odds with the Fed. The Federal Reserve doesn't want to participate. I mean, we have that hard hat interview, which was absolute insanity, of a president of the United States trying to gotcha to the chairman of the Federal Reserve on live national television, getting totally rebuked in what would be considered a sort of insubordination, if you will. And all of this is happening in real time. Meanwhile, we've got, a crazy leader. He's all in on crypto. This is the first time that the government and the regulators are making rules to actually build and scale these crypto companies. And let's not minimize the impact of the Genius Act that is allowing stablecoins to happen. Let's just think about this. When the internet took off during the great boom of the late 2000s, the internet boom. This was a time, maybe people don't remember, when if you wanted to find information on someone, you had to go to the yellow pages. Now there's this thing called a website. And this website was very niche and sort of far off in the beginning. And suddenly this boom happens. And lo and behold, every single person has a website. Today, if you're a restaurant that doesn't even accept takeout orders, that doesn't do anything, right? You just come and make people buy, and you're super scarcity, and you have all these hipster vibes, you still have a website. There is always a website no matter what you do. The Genius Act was the same sort of unlocking as the internet and websites. It is saying not only are these stablecoins legit and we're giving credence to it on a national scale, but they are taking over every single business in the same way they needed to create a website and they came around to that option. They're going to be looking at, how do we accept stablecoins? What is our process for stablecoins? If we can set ourselves up for stablecoins, do we accept other assets? Is there an automatic swap so that people can pay? Again, if you're earning assets in off the grid by Gunzilla, by shooting people and playing video games because you love video games, you can use those very same Guns tokens to maybe buy your groceries on Amazon. There would be a swap in between. Amazon would receive stables, but this is not a far off world. We already have the tech stack. Like, none of this needs to be built. It's all ready to go. And now we have the United States and the passing of the Genius Act saying not only are stablecoins legit, but like they are fair game. And everybody is going to have to figure out, how do we accept these? How do we interact with these? And of course, the wallet technology will get more ubiquitous. We have the new Base app that looks off the hook. And we just have this expansion that is only just starting. In some ways, the entire industry is going through this mental repricing. Now that it's allowed, now that it's no longer a fringe group of weirdos, more people with real businesses are going to say, hey, how can this benefit my business? How can I make more money off of this? How can I lower costs? That's going to be a huge thing. And the fact that remittances are just destroyed, right? You can send money across the world any time of day for no fees, basically. I mean, we're looking at a paradigm shift in money. So while that paradigm shift has happened on the technological lens for a long time, we've been building the tech and we have it. All of the tech for crypto is very much ready to rock. Scaling, of course, needs to be there. But we now have the shift where it is permitted, that nations are accruing these assets, that businesses, that treasuries are accruing these assets, that when a country sells Bitcoin that was seized via illicit activities and they sell those Bitcoin, it's now being looked at as a loss. People are literally looking at these countries like Germany, who sold their Bitcoin at like sub 100K or whatever, and they're just being like, you fucked up. That could have been a reserve. That could have been something. And that reserve could be like the new gold reserve. Anyway, all of this is to say these wheels are turning. New buyers are coming in with new ideas, with new goals, with new understandings of the price. And that floor is being entirely reset. So is Udi onto something? Is ARK onto something? Hard to say. But what is clear as day is that the old whales are exiting their positions. That capital is now going towards businesses, towards Michael Saylor, towards brand new strategies that did not exist in 2011. And what does that mean for the price of Bitcoin? One can only hope to the moon. So I hope this was useful for you. If you want to follow any of the info that I put down, it's in my sources in the description. Go for it, read up. And as always, guys, get excited because this is really a valid thesis. I think we're on to something. And holy moly, let's see where the world takes us. With that being said, stay safe out there. Don't over leverage, and I'll see you tomorrow.